Ladies and gentlemen, after Keefe D changed his story back to the Diddy putting a hit on Tupac and Suge Knight and gonna use it as his defense in court, Suge Knight finally speaks out on the art of dialogue and tells the truth.
He said, but I'm going to give you something that's real true, and I've been wanting to tell you because we've been knowing each other, since we was kids. So Keefe D was like, look, I need the money. Puffy and them supposed to gave me $1 million. They gave us most of the money, or half of the money. And that's how everything unraveled for is what happened in Vegas.
All of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean all of it. Things we didn't know. Oh, yes. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like some cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray Richardson, Platinum Artist, Platinum Songwriter, a Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Also, subscribe to the channel. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of the Straight Game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Suge Knight, over on the Art of Dialogue. How do I put this into context for you? The best way that I know how. You got to understand something. So, Keefe D recently with his new attorneys. First, Keefe D was denying he was even in Vegas. As I've told you guys before. He had confessed in his book as to what happened, but Suge had always remained quiet because Suge did not want to seem like the person who was actually coming out and telling and snitching, right? He didn't want to seem like he was, you know what I mean? I can understand that from his perspective and from what he said he didn't want to do and want to appear as, ladies and gentlemen. But now that Keefe D has obtained new counsel and his old attorney, Carl Arnold, is no longer on the case, Keefe D has now reverted back to the Sean P. Diddy Combs, put $1 million hit on Tupac and Suge Knight, and that Keefe D basically confessed to Suge, according to Suge, that was the catalyst that led up to the shooting, among other things. Now, most people would say, oh man, Suge talk a lot of shit. He said this, he said. Now Suge has said some things in the past, and I didn't really take when he was like Tupac's still alive and all that. I didn't take that because I understand that he was being facetious when he said that. But you're going to have some people who take statements like that and try to run with it and make a video and be like, well, he said this, right? To keep you away from what? The truth. If he said, or to try to, what they do in court, give you something that's beyond, or should I say, that has some doubt still there based on a statement that somebody might have made, right? But this ain't that. Ladies and gentlemen, this ain't that. So as in the beginning of the interview, you can hear Suge Knight basically say that since the Keefe D spoke his truth, and since it's out there, you know what I mean, he can speak on it now that it's out there. Listen.
He put his truth out there. A lot of other people put their truth out there. Me personally, if it wasn't already out there, I wouldn't have no comment on it. But since it's there, I tell you this.
right? So you can understand why he's saying what he's saying now. And understand, okay, he said it, so I don't really, me saying it now doesn't mean that I'm snitching. And I think that was Suge's concern. Then he goes on to talk about, what Keefe D told him about what actually happened when he seen Keefe D at the Laker game, right? And he tells him what the real thing behind the situation in Vegas was really all about. Listen.
I used to keep a box at the Staples Center. So I'm at the Laker game, fucking with a bitch here and there, got some bitches with me. I step out for a little fresh air. I see Keefe D.
Since the incident, since the Vegas incident.
Oh, really?
I seen him at the basketball game. It was New Jersey Nets against the Lakers. Jason Kidd and them.
Mm-hmm.
I seen him when I first got out of the feds. Seen him then.
Keefe D was spooked. First thing he told me was they didn't have nothing to do with the killing of my homie Buntry. Now, I responded to Keefe D and said, shit, if I thought that, I'd be on you already. And he said, but I'm going to give you something that's real true, and I've been wanting to tell you because we've been knowing each other, since we was kids. So Keefe D was like, look, I need the money. Puffy and them supposed to gave me $1 million. They gave us most of the money, or half of the money. And that's how everything unraveled for is what happened in Vegas.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bombshell out of all bombshells. And so when Suge Knight was saying all along that if you solve one murder, you'll solve the other one, right? I don't know how true of a statement that actually was. But the part that hits me, that makes me really understand that Suge is saying what he said and he's speaking the truth, is the fact that Suge Knight says the first thing that Keefe D said to him was what he was going to tell him, or he confessed that it ain't had nothing to do with Buntry getting killed. And Suge told him, yeah, because if I thought that, I'd be on you right now. Listen.
First thing he told me was they didn't have nothing to do with the killing of my homie Buntry. Now, I responded to Keefe D and said, shit, if I thought that, I'd be on you already.
Ladies and gentlemen, like I told you about Keefe D's testimony early on in the game, Keefe D was too detailed about the green-black interview with Sean P. Diddy Combs. Like I said, it's still an allegation. But this right here is a bombshell. And another thing, Suge Knight, in so many words, also confesses, because he says, me knowing what I know from being there.
I know what I know from being there. I know what I know later on when people told lies or never told me the truth.
Me knowing what I know from actually being there, right? It's basically him saying that, yeah, I did see Keefe D in the car. Yeah, from what I know from being there. It's just as simple as that. It is just as simple as that. And like I said, people can take it for whatever they want. You could take it, run it, try to repackage it, sell it as soup when it's actually a filet mignon, right? But more importantly, you heard it. I don't think that you're going to ever get another confession out of. There's no other confession that can come from anywhere involving Suge Knight, the person who was in the car with Tupac Shakur on September 7th, 1996. I don't think that you're going to ever hear it like this ever again. This is it. And the reason why is because Keefe D basically, in confessing and using as a defense that Sean P. Diddy Combs allegedly put a hit on Tupac and Suge Knight. Essentially, Keefe D is saying, yeah, he put a hit on, Tupac and Suge. And basically he is admitting that he was involved in Tupac's murder. That's how you can believe it. You get it? There's nothing. Listen, because you got a lot of people who don't really get it. If Keefe D is using as a defense that him going to Vegas, him, being summoned to assassinate Sean P. Diddy Combs, assassinate a Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur at the direction of Sean P. Diddy Combs for $1 million, and this is an allegation, let me be clear. But if Keefe D is willing to go into a Las Vegas courtroom and use that as his partial defense, ladies and gentlemen, he's essentially putting himself at the mercy of the court. He's essentially giving the jury the rope to basically hang him, but he's saying, this is why I did it. Kurt Burrows, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if none of this is from Kurt Burrows basically saying, yeah, this is the reason, X, Y, and Z. Kurt Burrows was a former executive at Bad Boy. He confessed to that just recently in his lawsuit. And now you ultimately now having Suge Knight confessing to what Keefe D told him.
So I'm like, I had to go take a piss. Let's have this conversation in the restroom. He was like, man, I ain't going in that restroom with you. And good thing he didn't, because even though we was friends, but if a motherfucker pays you to kill us, I got a bullet into my skull. And one of the best friends I had ever had in life is Pac. And he ain't here. I'm gonna beat the fuck out that nigga in that restroom. My blood was boiling. Somebody used to always say. But at the same time, I am an intelligent, wise man and a businessman. Since I can't do nothing to him, I might as well get him to answer some questions. So I double back on him and say, what you mean? It's big money in this. Only thing Puffy want to do is pay $1 million to have both of them killed.
Suge also said that he was paroled, and he was on parole at that particular time. So it would have been foolish, once again, for him to do or try to fight with Keefe D or do something crazy and be arrested again and sent back to jail, right? So when people ask, well, why didn't he do nothing? Blah, say, blah. Like I said, he chose to handle it like he chose to handle it. But ladies and gentlemen, the last thing I want to tell you is this. Out of all the things, you got to go over there and check out the Art of Dialogue and that interview, man. It's jaw-dropping, man. And one of the things that has never been put together, ladies and gentlemen, that Suge Knight said was what? He implicated, he said that Keefe D said he wasn't the only one that was involved. It was security that was paid.
He told me that. He said it was, according to him now, he said it was security that accepted money, participated in it. And it was so-called homies. So he laid it out to me in a way that he's spilling his guts to me, saying it wasn't just him, it wasn't just Puffy. He named names, he named people. And usually when people name names the way he was naming names, I believe him.
Security was paid off too. So who could that security be, ladies and gentlemen? He also talked about Frank Alexander not having the radio. Basically alleging that it was all a setup. It was way intricate. And that was the part that somebody had asked me just recently. It was like, well, what do you think about, how do you link Reggie the Rat Wright Jr.? I said, I don't really know. I can't tell you something I don't know. That's not what I do. I'm just, But when Suge Knight said that Keefe D told him that it wasn't just him, that security was paid off too, that is the linchpin. Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. has been implicated in the murder of Tupac Shakur by way of Keefe D, saying that Keefe D saying that Reggie the Rat Wright Jr. or security in that matter, right, was paid off and a part of the whole plot also, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bombshell. Stop playing with yourself with these other YouTube videos, with these other people trying to come in. This is from Suge Knight from prison himself, ladies and gentlemen. The person who was in the car. We understand now what actually happened and how it went down. Right? And like I said, the fact that, you know, Keefe D seen him at the Laker game and told him, yo, this is what it was about. And then the crazy part about it is that the Art of Dialogue asked a great follow-up question. Did you know at the time, or did you know before that there was a hit on y'all? And Suge said, no, I didn't know. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a hell of a thing, man. It's a hell of a thing. And yeah, this trial coming up, it's going to be a hell of a trial, bro. It's going to be a hell of a trial because, like I said once again, yeah. I'm so like, oh man, I don't really even know what to say. I'm kind of lost for words because I kind of knew it. I'm kind of like the only thing that couldn't be really put together if it was all of what that is. Now you understand Reggie the Rat Wright Jr.'s desperation and trying to get Keefe D hemmed up and going and testifying in front of the grand jury and lying about so many things, right? And then Suge finally speaking out and starting to crush those lies. But this truth right here, like I said, I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm not going to tell you, you know what I mean? That's not what we do over here on Straight Game TV. I'm not going to do that. All I'm going to tell you is listen to what Suge's saying on this one. Just listen to what he's saying. Because like I said, if you understand this whole situation, you understand when he basically says, and me being there, and knowing what I know from, he said, knowing what I know from me being there, right? Yeah. Because guess what he didn't say when Keefe D was telling him what he was telling him? Nah, nigga, I ain't see you in the car. Nah, nigga, you lying. Nah, nigga, it ain't happen like that. He was listening to what Keefe D was saying. And not one time did he check him in regards to that. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. Stay tuned. Your boy Delray, Straight Game.
They said Tupac was untouchable, but behind the walls of Rikers Island, he was just a man, wounded, watching his back, and wondering who he could trust. He survived bullets, betrayal, and isolation behind bars. But what happened inside those walls has never been told until now. In the darkest corner of Rikers, he found betrayal and a brotherhood no one saw coming. These dudes smiled in my face, then flipped and tried to kill me, and I never saw it coming. They were Puff's security, Biggie's muscle, Henchman's people, and Tupac knew exactly who sent them. This is the side of Tupac Shakur the world never got to see, told by the man who lived it with him, not in the studio, but in a 6x9 cell. The rap battles, sex and drama with female guards, the tears, the silence after Jada Pinkett's visit, and the moment Tupac almost broke. Before Death Row, before All Eyes on Me, before Machiavelli, there was Rikers. Behind the Walls with Tupac Shakur, available now on Amazon. Get your copy. Learn the truth.